Apple's annual iPhone launch events usually get a lot of attention, and this year the company has brought all of its new launches to India in the first wave of countries for the first time ever, right in time for our holiday shopping season. We have with us the new iPhone 13 mini, the new iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, all four of these are direct replacements to the iPhone 12 series models, and we're going to get a first look at all of them and tell you about the specifications as well as show you the differences in sizes between them. Before we begin, please do remember to subscribe to the Gadgets 360 channel and hit the bell icon so you'll know whenever we post a new video. Now, it's time to get started. So here we have the complete lineup. That's the iPhone 13 mini, the plain iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the Pro Max. And we've got a couple of accessories to show you. This is the clear MagSafe case, and we've got some in silicone as well as leather. And these accessories are obviously sold separately. So we're going to get started with the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini, which basically share all their specifications except for screen size and battery capacity. So here we have the two boxes. As you can see, they are relatively slim because Apple doesn't include accessories like a charger or a pair of headphones anymore. We'll see exactly the same thing in both boxes. So let's just concentrate on the iPhone 13 for now, and then we'll show you both phones side by side. So this is Apple's new eco-friendly packaging, which dispenses with plastic. So we just have two seals to pull off, and then the lid comes right off. And we see for the first time the iPhone 13 in pink right in front of us. So I lift the phone out of the box now, and we'll peel off this protective layer. Here we can see that the pink is an extremely pale color. It's more of a blush, really. The most noticeable thing about the new iPhone 13 is this diagonal camera module. Otherwise, it looks pretty much exactly the same as the iPhone 12. It is a little thicker, but you won't be able to notice that. We have the same matte aluminum frame, the same arrangement of buttons. There's the lightning port on the bottom with speaker grills on either side. We have the power button on the right. Nothing to see on the top. The mute switch and the volume buttons on the left, and the micro SIM tray just a little lower. So now I'm going to turn the phone on. And while it's booting, let's just look at the box contents. We have a lightning cable with a USB Type-C port on the other end. Here's a little bit of information. We have a SIM eject pin, a very small manual, and just a single Apple sticker. And that's really all there is to see inside the box. There's nothing else. So now I've unboxed the iPhone 13 as well as the iPhone 13 mini. And you can get an idea of them side by side to check out the difference in size. This one is, of course, much easier to hold and use in one hand, while the iPhone 13 is probably more familiar and more mainstream choice for most people. You can see they share pretty much identical camera modules and designs. And now you can also get an idea of the new narrower notch that you'll see across the iPhone 13 lineup. So now it's time to get a closer look at the flagship of this generation, the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Of course, it's in a larger box. Once again, we have these two stickers to peel off, and that's it. The box is now open. Here we see the largest of the four new iPhones in Apple's new signature color, which is called Sierra Blue. It's actually a lot paler than you might expect based on photos. It's a very, very subtle tint. You can see it contrasted against the bright stainless steel frame of the Pro models. And of course, the most noticeable difference, other than the size, is the fact that you have 3 cameras on the back. So we can peel off this protective layer and turn the phone on for the first time. While we're doing that, we can check out the rest of the box, which is unsurprisingly the same as it was for the iPhone 13. We have the standard Lightning to USB Type-C cable. We have the same little envelope with a SIM eject pin, a sticker, and some information printed. So for everyone who wants to see how they stack up, here's the new iPhone 13 Pro Max with the iPhone 13 Pro. Now this one has a much larger screen and battery. You can see this is the 13 Pro in gold, and this is the 13 Pro Max in Sierra Blue. Both have relatively matte finishes on the rear with very shiny steel frames. Here's an illustration of the difference in size between them. So since the iPhone 13 and the 13 Pro are the same size, there are really 3 sizes between the 4 models. So here they all are together for you to have a look. So now we're going to talk about specifications in detail. And with this generation, other than the screen size and battery capacity, the iPhone mini and the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max are identical. So we're just going to focus on one out of each pair. So the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Pro siblings are all based on Apple's new A15 Bionic SoC. The difference between the two pairs, and Apple is doing this for the first time, is that the iPhone 13 and 13 mini have only 4 GPU cores, while the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max have 5 GPU cores. So this means that there is more graphics power on the two more expensive iPhone 13 siblings. And you should be able to see that in terms of game performance. We've also got a 120Hz refresh rate on the iPhone 13 Pro siblings, and that is adaptive, which means that as you scroll around through the menus, you'll notice that content feels more responsive on the screen. If you're doing nothing, if the screen is static, or even when you're just watching video, the refresh rate can scale down so you save battery power. Now the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini both start with 128 GB, which is up from 64 GB on the previous generation. You have 3 options: 128, 256 and 512 GB. The iPhone 13 Pro siblings are available in the same configurations as the last generation. You start at 128, there's 256 and 512 GB, but there's also now a new 4th option which takes you up to 1 TB of storage. So if you're planning to use these phones for some serious video production, you might want to consider going all the way up to 1 TB, although you'll wind up spending quite a lot of money. Now the iPhone 13 siblings have frames made of aluminum, while the iPhone 13 Pro models both have frames made of stainless steel. You can see the difference between them here. These are more matte finished, while these are more shiny. All 4 models have Apple's ceramic shield material over the display, which the company says is much more resilient to damage than ordinary glass. All phones also have IP68 ratings for water and dust resistance. All 4 are, of course, also compatible with Apple's MagSafe charger standard, which was introduced last year. So you can just clip a magnetic charger onto the back, and it also works with a couple of third-party accessories as well as Apple original accessories, including clip-on wallets, stands, and cases. So the iPhone 13 mini is, of course, the smallest of the family, and it has a 5.4-inch diagonal screen. The iPhone 13 and 13 Pro both have 6.1-inch screens, while the biggest sibling, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, has a 6.7-inch screen. All of these are OLED panels, but only the 2 Pro models get the 120Hz ProMotion feature. All of them also support HDR for content playback and True Tone adjustment, which means that they'll adjust their color temperature automatically depending on ambient light. Brightness is slightly higher on the iPhone 13 Pro models at 1000 nits, whereas it's 800 nits on the iPhone 13 models. All of them share a 1200 nit maximum peak brightness when playing HDR content. So now we come to cameras, where Apple says some amazing leaps have been made with this generation. On the iPhone 13 and 13 mini, you have 2 cameras, and of course there are 3 on the 13 Pro and Pro Max. The additional one is a telephoto camera, which now goes up to 3x optical zoom. However, there are still differences between the wide and the ultra-wide cameras on the lower end and the higher end models. So let's start with the iPhone 13, and everything about these cameras also applies to the iPhone 13 mini. So we have a dual camera system, both of which have 12 megapixel resolutions. The wide camera has an f1.6 aperture, while the ultra-wide has an f2.4 aperture. On the Pro models, we have a wide camera with an f1.5 aperture, ultra-wide with f1.8 aperture, and it's also capable of shooting macro photos only on the Pro models, and the telephoto camera with an f2.8 aperture. Between the camera sensors and the capabilities of the new A15 SoC, Apple has implemented a couple of new features. The first of these is photographic styles. Now you can set this up in the camera settings. What it does is essentially allow you to customize the render pipeline of the camera so you can apply your own preferences in terms of tone and warmth. There are a couple of presets, but there are sliders that let you customize this. The next big feature is cinematic video. And what this does is essentially when you have people in your frame, will automatically pull focus between faces depending on who is looking at the camera and who is speaking. Now this should let you achieve quite a few interesting effects when you shoot videos. Other than screen size, the different sized iPhones obviously have different battery capacities. Now Apple doesn't disclose exact specifications, but it does talk about battery life in terms of hours. So on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, video playback now is rated for up to 28 hours, and on the iPhone 13, you get up to 19 hours. On the iPhone 13 mini, which is the smallest of the lot, you get up to 17 hours. Apple says that battery life is 1.5 hours better on the iPhone 13 mini and the iPhone 13 Pro compared to the 12 series, and up to 2.5 hours better on the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro Max compared to the iPhone 12 series. So that was our quick unboxing and our first impressions of the new iPhone 13 series. Do tell us what you think of these phones in the comment section below and which one of them you think you would most like to have. Thanks for watching.